Hi guys, it's Amy and you have found Amy Loves Crochet. Thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate you clicking on my video today. What I wanted to share with you are some scarves that I was working on. I recently showed you in a video where I had a whole bunch of my project bags, my whips that I just needed to focus on. I had too many things I was thinking about and working on. So one of my recent clear outs of my yarn wall, I cleared out a cubby of all my Bernat pop. So all of my scraps and all the different colors, I kind of went through them and separated them, what would go with what, and came up to about 4 scarves. I kind of had to play with the different colors, and I'll show you the pattern that I was working on. Whoops. It is called Twice Over, and it's really kind of cute if you ask me in the 2-color scheme here. But as I started to go with it, when I'm working with scraps, I don't like to do a lot of 1-row things. I don't want to lose a lot of the ends, the little tie-offs and stuff that you would sew in to change color all that often. So when I'm working with scraps, I want to use the whole ball or the whole chunk of what I've got and not lose any of those ends. Well, then color starts to play into it, and Amy's brain just goes so the first one that I did is just made up of 2 different colors, and it was Lipstick on Your Collar and Scarlet Sizzle, I think. And so it was some reds and pinks and greens, and so I sort of put it together. And when I'm thinking about a scarf, I think about symmetry as well as color that you're going to lose that sits behind your neck with just a scarf. So sometimes I'll be working on a scarf and want to connect it as a cowl because I don't want any of that color to be hidden in the back of your neck. But sometimes it just stays a scarf. So that's what happened here. And in this case, I put a little border on it as well. And I didn't have enough of the white border, so half of it got the kind of hot pink border. But I really enjoyed this stitch. As you can see, I worked up 4 different scarves, and it's really simple. You do a row of single crochets, and then you do a row of 2 double crochets, skip 2, 2 double crochets, skip 2, with a chain 2 in there as well. And so you get these great little spaces, and then the next row is a single crochet. So it kind of gives you a different look than just doing a straight 2 double crochets, chain 2, skip 2. You know what I mean? It gives you that extra squaring, the extra bottom to that square. So I really liked it. And it was simple enough. I could work it, you know, without even thinking, without even checking my little cheat sheet of what stitch comes next. I liked the border on this, but it kind of reminds me of an Afghan in some cases, you know, like, I don't know. I know we put a border around a lot of stuff, but when I put it on this, it just made me look like it was an Afghan, or made me think of it like an Afghan. So the other 3, I did not put a border on. And I'm going to take a step backwards, actually. I had looked on YouTube for, you know, we all just spend time on here looking at different crochet stuff. And I found a pattern I thought I wanted to do because it worked with scraps and because you didn't have to sew in any ends. So I thought that was fantastic. But I didn't like the way that it was working out, and I don't know why I committed so much to it and then didn't like it. So now I've got this thing. But I was watching, and it doesn't matter what my stitches are because I changed them up. I was trying to change it up as I went. My point being is that this is where you tie on everything. So she just left tassels on both sides of the blankets. So this is what was happening when I'm sewing on. Like, sure, you can always attach extra tassels to these ones in the center, but the point is she would add on and do a row on the top, and then add on and do a row on the bottom. So she started with symmetry, with like what I did in the blue in the middle, and then the colors of the orange going on the outside. But with scrap, you don't have symmetry. You're going to run out of yarn like she did. So she ran about 4 or 5 lines, and then, oh, well, I don't have that color anymore, so this side doesn't match this side anymore. So she started with symmetry and then didn't finish with symmetry, and Amy can't take that. So I've got this long piece. I don't know what to do with it. You know, all my scraps, all my little swatches, or my little examples or practices that I might do or might show you guys, I just put those all in a bag, and at some point it's going to get stuffed into something, maybe a pillow or something when I'm done. But this kind of extra leftover yarn, that's the same thing that's going to happen with that. So don't ever throw all that stuff away. You can always put it inside a liner of a pillow or a stuffy or of some sort. So this was the first one. I was super happy with it. I did it with with a 5.5 millimeter hook. I had it right here just a minute ago. There it is. 5.5 millimeter hook, an eye hook. And I believe that's what the yarn calls for. Oh no, it does call for a 5 millimeter H hook. But I'll tell you what, Bernat Pop, in my opinion, is kind of one of those full fours. This isn't going to be a little skinny yarn. This is a full-on 4, maybe even a really, really light 5. Because, you know, our weight count isn't always the same on a 4. You're not going to find the same thickness of yarn every single time, even though it's all classified as 4. Okay, so this was the first one. I was super happy with it. I've got that bag that I made with the lipstick on your collar yarn, so maybe I'll put those two together as a set. That would be fun. The next one that I did, I also did with the 5.5 millimeter hook, but I did not put a border on it. And this one was made up of two, back in the day when I was finding Bernat Pop and buying a bunch of the Bernat Pop, again, I was enjoying the fact that I didn't have to change color. And so I was kind of like a madman looking for discontinued stuff on eBay, or just inexpensive stuff, I should say, buying what other people are trying to sell out, their stash and stuff. And there were two colors, Radical Botanical and Rainy Day. Those two colors, I continued, like I had one skein of each, and I continued to look for more so that I could add to that and make something with it. And I continued constantly to get those two colors confused. So at this point, I know it, but the Radical Botanical and the Rainy Day really confused me. And so they got put together into the same scarf. And I think one of the colors, this light blue that I used from here, is from a whole different skein called Kitsch something. Kitchen Kitsch. Kitchen, Kitsch. So anyway, this was one that I thought maybe this one looks so girly, maybe I would make one up that looked a little bit more boy. But I really like it, and I don't care who wears it. So it's got some greens, some kind of this great green, kind of gray greens. And then I had a bunch of two blues left. I had both the lighter blue from the Kitsch, and then this darker blue that came from one of the Rainy Day or the botanical ones. So I brought that up here as well. And then here's where I kind of talked about addressing, I didn't want to lose out on any color that sits behind your neck, sits behind your hair. So the symmetry of putting the darker green gray down here, and then I tried to like alternate the blues to keep that, popping a little bit. I had just a little bit of this yellow and just a little bit of the brown. So I put those together, and I decided to take the amount of this that I had and divide just a little bit, not quite by 3, but to put a little bit behind the head as well. So that's what I did, is with all of them, to kind of figure out what color combo I was going to do. This is all I've got left. It's about 60 grams. Man, this lighting is really bad. I'm sorry about that. But what I would do is weigh out each color to see how much of that color I had, of each of the colors that I put with that group. So, for example, did I write it on here? I did not write it on this one. I wrote it on this one. Did I write it on this one? Okay, so like here's a little example. I broke down how much, I had 18 grams of one color, 27 grams of another color. So I was trying to figure out how I could split the yarn that I had symmetrically and build this in a nice color combination. So it took a little hit and miss, and I decided, this is how much. So with this one, the multiple for the stitch is 4 plus 3. So with this one, I did 20 stitches, 20 chains plus 3. And in the rest of them, I only did 16. So I made it a little bit thinner, a little more narrow on the next 3. But I was also gauging how many rows I could do with that much yarn. No, how many rows I could do with what size hook, and how much yarn I had to make that many rows, you know what I mean? So I was trying to math it all out. That part was not fun because Amy doesn't like math, but it got me to a point where I kind of, on this one, like for example, on this one, it's not going to be symmetrical. And the amount of rows that I did on one side don't match the amount of rows that I did on the other side. And I thought I was going to just kind of make it wild and crazy. And then I didn't kind of like how that was working out. So with the next 3, I looked at it really more of from the point of view that I wanted the colors to be symmetrical. So that was this next one. And then I didn't put a border on anymore because I thought they looked too much like an Afghan. I said that. But I really like this one with the different colors that came out in it. I really did. Okay, so then that was those were both with a 5.5 millimeter hook. But then these next 2 groups of color, I had a little bit less yarn. So I wanted to use a smaller hook. I wanted to go down to the 5 millimeter, the H hook, to see if I could sort of get the most bang for my buck out of the yarn that I had left. So this one is a super fun one. And I was trying to go through the color bands that I have to see what I put into this one. And I really can't tell how much of a mix there's got to be a band that I'm missing because there's way too much purple in this one that I can't account for. So then this one again, I was trying to, I don't know, use what I had out of each color. I tried to kind of break it down a little bit, but you can see like I had a whole lot more of blue than I did on the purple there. So this one isn't as symmetrical in my colors, but and I thought maybe I would do it with all just the purples and the pinks, and then I had all that blue left, and I was kind of gonna be running out. This was gonna have to be a really, really small scarf. So I did add the blue to this one. And these are all, you know, they say that your scarf is supposed to be your arm's length apart. So these are good, you know, adult size scarves. I didn't kind of chintz on the length of these at all. See, you take them all, you're supposed to take them and do arm's length, whatever. And so all of these work for that because I can stretch my arms out all the way. So they're good length. Okay. So I did like this one. I think that the pinks and the purples are just awesome. And I really liked them together. I don't remember if they came in one skein together or what, but the blue on there did not bother me. I kind of liked adding the blue. So then my last one, I don't know how much of a skein it was, but it went from one color to the end. So this one worked up really, really quick. I didn't have to stop to tie in any yarn, any ends, or tie them in at the end at all, because it was still in one cake, you know, still running through one cake. So I thought that this was a really good variation to show you guys because it is with like ombre yarn. So the skein started out in this white, and then it went to like a beige, and then it kind of went to like an orangey, and then it's pretty. So it's a little bit different than the others in that it's not going to be, you know, matching on one side as the other. It's not going to be symmetrical. And this one just barely makes, I'm bending my arm a little bit on this side. It just barely makes the arm length test. But I thought that was really pretty. This is the Kitchen Kish. So the other colors that come with this are this neon orange and this really pretty mint blue. That comes in the Kitchen Kish colorway. But this was all that I had left, was the kind of softer colors here. So I thought that was really pretty. You know, I'm not much of an orange person myself per se, but I know it's super popular. My brother-in-law Chris is really into a good orange, and I think it brightens up life. You know, orange is a really great sunshiny color. So if you've got it, don't be afraid to use it. So I really liked the way that this one turned out as well, because it's just kind of softer, you know. You don't have to be a symmetry nut like I am. Some of the others, maybe you're a purple nut. You really, really like the purple, and so this hits home for you. But this one's just kind of a softer color that's, you know, not too bright. I do want to block them, I guess. I mean, with scarves, when you're kind of using them, they're just all wrapped up. They're just all... So blocking the edges isn't something I think that maybe a lot of people think about when they're making a scarf. I don't like the way that the ends might curl up or whatnot. So I might block it. I might not. I might just use it. It might just go in a bag to give away or something. I'm not sure. But I was super happy to get that last Bernat pop off my shelf, you know, kind of remnants. I'm trying to clear out certain things, because unless we're talking about, you know, way down to the scraps of the scraps that go into a scrap ball project, I really, really, really like to use the rest of a yarn with itself. I don't necessarily like to mix and match yarns within a project if I can help it. So in being able to take all of this Bernat pop and use all of it in individual projects that made 4 really happy things for me, that's amazing. I don't think that I've been that kind of lucky with some of my scraps. And you know, you're looking at scraps with that kind of idea that you want to use it all in one thing, but then you got to make sure that you're able to finish that thing and not end up needing something more to finish that project. So when I look at how much yarn I've got to work on a project, I can have some serious anxiety in trying to know that I'm going to be that I'm going to have enough to complete my project, and that I'm going to use it all. Like, this kind of bugs me. I wish part of me, like in this case, it really wouldn't have gone with any of the others. And to add on to that, to this one with any more of this darker green, I didn't want to do that, because then it would just be gigantic. So, you know, that's kind of one of those things that you just have to figure out. Now, what am I going to do with all of these? This is enough, I think, from my Bernat Pop life that it can go into my scrap bin, and I don't even care. And, you know, for my sake of thought, I'm kind of done with the Bernat Pop that I had on my shelf, and now I've got a cubby cleared out for something else. This pattern is so very simple. I'm not going to do a tutorial because it's just way too simple. It's called Twice Over, and what you want to do is chain 4 for multiples of 4 for as wide as you want your project to be, and then you're going to add 3 stitches on the end of it. Single crochet for the first round. First row, you're going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook and in every chain across. And then at the end of the row, excuse me, the pattern calls for a chain 3 when you turn, because it's going to be a double crochet on the next row. But for this pattern, I really preferred to do a chain 2. So, you know, when you're going to start your row 2, you'll have that chain 2, and then you'll do a double crochet in the next stitch. So that's 2 double crochets next to each other, and then you'll chain 2 and skip 2 and do 2 more double crochets, chain 2, skip 2, 2 double crochets all the way along, and you're going to end on 2 double crochets, and then you'll chain 1 and turn, and then you're going to single crochet in the same stitch and each double crochet. So then you'll chain 2 over the chain 2s and single crochet on top of the double crochets. So then your change of color comes right now at the end of that row before you do your double crochet, so that the double crochet is like the start of your new color. You can see that here. Oops. So when we do like the pink here, your double crochet, you changed the color, and then you did double crochet row first, and then you did a single crochet row on top of that, and then you change color, if you want to do it like this. Otherwise, just keep on trucking. And then that's it. You just repeat the single crochet row and the double crochet row over and over and over, and there you go. So the 3 that don't have a border, those were all weighing up at about 90 grams, and I've just got a shorter repeat on those. You can see the difference in the width on this one. Now this one's got the border as well. So okay, so this one's got a border, and it's done in a bigger hook, and it's got an extra repeat. So here's the one that I, this one I did with a 5.5 millimeter hook and an extra count, an extra multiple, and then plus it's got the border. So your width is going to be quite different with the hook, and depending on how many repeats you want to make. So maybe works a little swatch of it up to see if you've got, that's kind of what I did, was that I worked some up and said, okay, 3 rows with this hook and this many multiples gives me this much height. So how much do I need? How much do I have? How much do, work from one and complete the formula in reverse or whatever. So, alrighty guys, I hope you have enjoyed my Bernat Scraps scarf today, my four different scarf colors. I am so happy that I got a little cubby cleared out, and I hope that this might provide some motivation or inspiration to you to finish up some yarn that you've got and do something nice with it. So thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderfully blessed day, and I will see you again. Thank you. Bye-bye.